Hello YouTube, it is June 14, 2019, and I'm back with y'all with another Andrew Yang video. So as y'all know, we left off on part one of the mini slides that we had to go through. We stopped at, I think, bullet point like 18. And I hope y'all can't hear that motorcycle outside my darn gone window. My walls are very thin, honey. But yeah, we ended off on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it go down long more from there, y'all. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And if y'all didn't see the last video, I will have it in the description box. 15, 16, 17, 18, and yeah, we right here. The penny makes no sense. I told y'all I already took a peek on that, and I got a lot to say on this. Now, due to the fact that I actually have another video to upload later on tonight, it's my third video that I'm getting out today. So this video is going to be cut short. So this whole section is probably going to be divided into 4 videos because I'm only going to be able to do like 40 minutes with y'all today. So let's go ahead and get into the penny makes no sense. Nobody likes pennies. They aren't valuable enough to buy anything. They sit at the bottom of your pockets or purse, taking up space until your begrudgingly throw them in a change jar, and whenever you're in a rush, the person ahead of you in line pulls out some change and starts slowly counting out the pennies. Okay, not too many people are counting out solely pennies now. Come on now. And then usually most stores recommend that you have the pennies in the penny wrapper. So let's not act like people are counting out pennies like that. Because if you count out that many pennies, usually you have enough common sense to put them in the penny wrappers. But moving on. Seriously though, there are many downsides to the penny. They're expensive. It costs more to make a penny than it's worth, costing U.S. taxpayers about $70 million a year. I think $70 million is really very minuscule in the grand scheme of things. We pay upwards of $250 billion a year towards darn on wars in Africa where we don't even need to. But you're worried about $70 million in pennies that is actually very controversial to our currency. But anyways, I give y'all my 2 cents more later on this. And most of the zinc that goes into them comes from China, adding over 2 million to the trade deficit. Okay, we owe China $1.7 trillion of our darn on debt. Once again, I think $2 million is very minuscule. Even if you're talking about 2 million every year, honey, that pales in comparison to the debt that we really owe China. I don't think the $2 million is really breaking us in the grand scheme of things. And then this is very ironic considering that, you know, Andrew Yang is an Asian person and he's worried about us owing money to China, but it's only to the tune of $2 million. But anyways, moving on. Mining the zinc and copper needed to make pennies is bad for the environment. Counting out pennies at businesses add up to almost 50 million hours each year. Businesses that accept cash will save time and effort, and charities that rely on pennies can expect to see donations increase as people start sending nickels alone. Okay. And with all the money saved, we can invest in a way to honor one of our greatest presidents that doesn't involve losing his image in our and my computer screen is cracked, y'all, so if y'all wonder why I'm stuttering on certain words, that is actually why. I'm not illiterate. It's just my computer screen is cracked and I haven't fixed it yet. So let me scroll down to see what that means. Okay, couches. I thought it was going to say touches. So that doesn't involve losing his image in our couches constantly. Okay, first of all, Abraham Lincoln is also on $5 bills, so he wasn't going to be darn gone lost anyways. Abraham Lincoln is also the president that is responsible for the Emancipation Proclamation of 1865. So definitely he would not be forgotten about as far as my community, the black community. So you don't have to worry about, Abraham Lincoln's image being lost in the couches at all. Honey, Abraham Lincoln is on Mount Rushmore. He is one of the most doggone recognized, most popular presidents in the U.S. history out of 45 doggone presidents that we currently have. You don't have to worry about his image ever being doggone lost just because pennies are going down in the couch, baby. Furthermore, you talking about the process of the penny is causing $2 million a year. Honey, we owe China darn on 1.7 million of our darn on trade debt. I mean 1.7 trillion. So 2 million is darn on very minuscule in the grand scheme of things. Honey. 2 million is not a substantial amount of money to be worried about. So I don't understand that. And number three, and the most important, he has not explained. You know what? Let me scroll down before I get to reading anymore. It costs more to make the penny. That's pretty much all you need to know. No, that's not all we need to know. How? But I get to my point in a moment. Getting rid of them will save us money and time. Good for the environment too. How is it good for the environment? Problems to be solved. Pennies are expensive, environmentally damaged, and cause businesses time. It does not call businesses time. Once again, I understand in China, in certain factories and stuff, y'all ain't up to date on the times. But let's not be facetious. Let's not act like banks and stuff don't have automatic darn on counting systems where you just put the thousands of pennies through the darn on thing. Anybody who have that auntie who collects pennies know that they go to food line when they stack up them pennies and it counts all them tens of thousands of pennies within a matter of seconds and it gives you a check to use in the store. Let's not act like we don't have the technology to count the darn on pennies up in a rapid manner. Not too many people are sitting at the darn on counter counting pennies up for days on end. Like I said, if you count that many pennies, most people have enough common sense to use the darn on penny wrapper. That way you can count them in more of an efficient manner. That's the first darn on fallacy that we're going to get out right there. That if you're counting pennies at the counter, you have the penny rollers where you have the customer put the pennies in and then you count them by the dollars, with each one being 100 cents, which is a penny. I mean, which is a dollar. I can understand maybe it costs more to make a penny than what it's worth, but unfortunately, that's how our currency system is set up. What Andrew Yang has not expressed is how do he plan on changing our currency system if we get rid of the penny? Because if you get rid of the penny, you have to completely change the currency system. And that is not as easy as you think it is. Because to change the currency system, by default, you have to change the sales tax rates of nearly every state in America. In North Carolina, the sales tax is 7 cents, which means for every dollar you spend, you owe the state of North Carolina 7 cents. So if you get rid of the penny, how do we pay that? And if we pay it, how do we get change? On $1.07 purchase, I am owed 3 cents. You can't give me 3 cents back no more because you done got rid of the penny. So what is in place of the penny? Huh? Now, if you would have said, well, we can get rid of the penny and make it silver again, because that's actually been happened before. Anybody who is familiar with the 1943 steel mint pennies, we did have that back in the day. He's not even proposing that we change the penny at all. He's talking about completely getting rid of the penny, which makes no sense. That what makes no sense. You talking about the penny makes no sense. You darn on advocating to get rid of the penny don't make any sense because you are not, addressing the big elephant in the room that was caused by how are we going to give people back money? If I'm owed 3 cents, how am I going to get my 3 pennies if we're going to get rid of the penny altogether? And your only excuse is that the process of making a penny is more than what it's worth because of the material. Okay, we can easily change the material for it to be silver, just like the nickels and the dimes and the quarters. Problem solved. We can just change the penny up to darn gonna be silver, just like all the other currencies, but it can stay at its true value of 1 cent. Unless you plan on changing the whole currency system where we no longer use increments of anything other than 5 and 10, because by default now all the states have to change their sales tax. Matter of fact, the federal government will have to change their tax laws as well. You no longer can do anything outside of increments of 5 and 0. So the current, sales tax, the federal sales tax of the marginal rate, where if you make over $500,000 a year, you owe 37% to the federal government. That's mathematically impossible if you eradicate the penny. If you owe 22% to the government, if you're making like over, I think you have to be making over $40,000 to owe 22% to the government. But regardless, you know where I'm getting at. How is you going to address all of this? Andrew Yang is talking about getting rid of the penny and is not addressing all the darn gone conundrum of issues that will arise from doing such a thing. And your only excuse is it costs us $2 million to make per year? Really? $2 million is not shit compared to the darn gone government spending to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars every day. Billions with a B. We owe China already $1 trillion with a T, honey. 2 million don't mean nothing to warrant changing a penny and causing a headache of everybody having to learn a whole nother currency system, because you have to change the whole currency system for this 1 penny. And is it worth it? Is it worth it? I don't think so. Darn gonna put it down and reverse it. Is honey, this some Missy Elliott shit right here. You trying to flip the whole motherfucking script and you don't got no darn gone legitimate reason or solutions to justify trying to flip the script, other than the fact that we owe China $2 million a year, a trade deficit for it. That's not a viable enough excuse to change the penny. Counting the businesses add up to almost 50 million hours each year. Well, how about we towards those businesses, we invest in the technology that can automatically count the pennies. Problem solved, boo-boo. Businesses that accept cash will save time and effort. No, they can easily save the same time and effort with the machinery that can count the pennies up in a matter of seconds. So I don't understand getting rid of the penny just to darn gonna save businesses time. It's not that serious. Like I said, when it comes to counting pennies at the store, that's what the penny rollers are for. But I'd love to know y'all thoughts on this. This issue right here irritated me the most, because out of all the stuff that we got to deal with in Congress right now, I mean, with global warming, with reparations for black people, with Native American rights, etc. You're worried about the penny? Really? Really? With Donald Trump potentially up for possibly winning 2020, you talking about the penny? Oh my goodness. Let me go on to the next. Let me move my thing to the middle so it won't be hard to click out of here. But y'all definitely leave y'all thoughts on the penny. Like I said, that didn't make any sense to try to advocate to get rid of the penny. Okay, next is make election a holiday. As y'all can tell, I'm not sniffing because I don't have my fan on, and I'm getting a little bit overheated, so I might be drinking a little bit more than usual. But I know y'all was getting tired of me darn on sniffing my nose in every video, so for the sake of y'all, I got one of my 2 fans off of it. So I hope I don't pass out in here on y'all. So simple, sweet, to the point. It says eligible voter, no, everyone eligible to vote on election day should be free to do so. However, too many Americans are unable to take the time off from work as they're living paycheck to paycheck or are hourly workers who can't lose the time. Election day should be a federal holiday, but that doesn't go far enough as it doesn't ensure economic motivations won't keep people from voting. On top of making that day a holiday, we need to implement tax breaks for companies that pay their workers for time taken off to vote. I'm 50% here for it. I'm here for giving the incentives of companies allowing people to vote in a timely manner. However, I don't think we need to go as far as making it a mandated holiday. And the reason why is because um you actually have a window to go vote. You don't actually have to vote on election day, if that makes sense. You can actually cast your vote upwards of 2 weeks before the date, if that makes, especially during primaries. During primaries in the general election, you are voting upwards to the days um, of voting day. Matter of fact, during the 2016 election, I've already casted in my vote. I think that October. It was the last week of October. I voted just before my great grandma died. My great grandma died 6 days before election day. She died November 2nd, and we actually buried her on election day. We buried her on November the 8th, and I started my job with Kirby the very next day on November the 9th. So, due to the funeral of my great grandmother, I would not even been able to go to elections. But due to the fact that we are able to vote ahead of time, I was able to cast my vote early versus trying to get in line on election day. So I don't understand the need to make election a holiday, to get people to the polls when there's already a 2 week window for people to get to the polls. So I don't understand that right there. What I need you to focus on, Andrew Yang, instead of trying to make election day a holiday to get people to the polls, why don't you make it easier for people to get to their locations without feeling pressured, without once again the politics of the machines going down. Why don't you offer punishments towards crooked politicians where all the Democrat votes are switching to Republican? Why don't you get on to the fact that it's a conflict of interest for Republicans to hold these I forgot the terminology for it, but the Republican Party actually oversees the voting, which I would think would be a conflict of interest, especially considering that we have a long-standing history of corruption with these machines in the South, because it doesn't just happen in North Carolina, it happens in Florida. So much so that um, Florida's voter tampering actually is what got George W. Bush in office, because the vote was so close with George W. Bush and Al Gore. Florida was the deciding state, and due to the voter suppression and manipulations and closing down the polls early and people being threatened, uh, Al Gore lost the vote. Now, he won the popular vote, and he would have won the electoral college if the votes were counted right for Florida. And even though later on an investigation proved that he won the state of Florida, for whatever reason, they didn't take George W. Bush out of office, even though Al Gore officially won by both the electoral college and the popular vote. So we need to fix those types of issues over, trying to make election day a holiday. Why don't we get darn gone voter suppression under control? Why don't we get redlining under control? I mean, Andrew Yang, who is on your team? Do you have any darn gone black people or minorities other than yourself on your team? Because as an Asian person, you're truly thinking from an Asian mindset, no shade, no tea. But you as an Asian person are very unaware of the impact that redlining has on indigenous minorities here. As black people and as Native Americans, We suffer from these types of darn on discriminations that you overlook. So while you thinking about just simply making election day a holiday, how does that stop the darn on tampering at the polls? How does that stop darn on ballots from being taken away? In the state of North Carolina, we went through over a 3-month investigation with darn on District 9, where it came out that votes didn't darn on go through. Just like in my home city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, the machines were acting up. People were being sent to the wrong place. You was asked to go to this place. Then when you got to this place, they saying you need to go back to this place. So you have people going to and from places getting the darn gonna run around. We need to fix all of those issues. That is what is hurting people at the poll. It's not that we can't find to take time off, because in 2 weeks you can find time to take off. You can call off in advance, especially when you know your voting dates upwards of months in advance. It's about having people to schedule their time off to do their civic duty months in advance, because you already know when your voting dates are coming up. So that's not the problem, Andrew Yang. The problem is when we take our days off and we go to our designated place, we are going to be asked to go to another place and then go back to the place that we just came back from. And then when we cast our vote, all of a sudden it's switching my darn gone stuff up. Now I got that darn gonna switch my stuff back because they thought they was going to have my Democrat votes go to Republican. That's the shit that we have to deal with, Andrew Yang. That's what I want to hear you and your Yang gang address. Not no darn gonna make election day a holiday. And that's my 2 cents on that. We can talk more about voter suppression and tampering all day long, but like I said, I don't got that much time, so we're going to move on. If y'all want a more detailed video on that, definitely feel free to leave it in the comments box below. But like I said, being from North Carolina, I know this all too well. I've personally experienced it myself. So to people in Florida, to people in Georgia, I know 100% what you are going through. Louisiana as well. I empathize with you, because in the South we are truly depressed, especially as minority people, as Native Americans, and as Black people and Hispanics. We are very much suppressed. We need to deal with that more than just trying to make Election Day a holiday, because that's not going to fix the main issues that cause the lack of us getting to the polls. It's not that if we can't get to the polls, it's about the fact that we can't get to the right polls, and that the polls ain't properly casting our vote. And then even when the votes are cast, honey, people are darn gone stealing the darn gone votes, and we have to go through an investigation to find out where the missing ballots are. Those are the issues that we're having. But anyways, like I said, we can go all day on this, but we don't got time. And this issue's been going on far beyond, before Andrew Yang was even a factor. So I'm not trying to blame this on him. But if you're going to talk about, election day, that's what you need to really focus on, is the corruption dealing with, the polls versus trying to make election day a holiday. Just my 10 cents on that. Next is empowering MMA fighters. Okay, this is an interesting shift from where I just, got finished talking about. Let me take a drink real quick, y'all. Whew. I done went a mile a minute, y'all. I had to shut up for a moment. But anyways, empowering MMA fighters. In the 90s, it became clear that boxing had a problem. The largely unregulated sport featured regular exploitation of the boxers, as well as scandals involving rigged matches and rankings. Congress stepped in and passed the Ali Act in order to combat the worst of these problems. Today, MMA fighters are largely in the same place as boxers were decades ago. The sport has quickly gained national promise, but many of the problems that plagued the pre-Ali Act boxing industry have repeated themselves in mixed martial arts. In addition to, MMA fighters are treated as independent contractors, even though their behavior and attire are tightly controlled. and any attempt to unionize has been met with retaliation and firing. Because of the lack of a strong private sector organization to establish uniform and appropriate business practices and ethical standards, it is necessary for Congress to step in to ensure that the fighters are protected from exploitation situations while also ensuring that fights and rankings are fair. Also, fighters should be empowered to organize an association or union and should be treated as athletes and employees instead of independent contractors. Okay, I can get with that a little bit now. I don't know much about MMA fighting, so I don't know about the legalities when it comes to all of that. But if they are going through that, I definitely would recommend, adding some, some guidelines. But I wouldn't restrict it to MMA because hell, we've seen what's been going on with the NFL and the fact that they really don't have true um control over their voices. They really don't have a union. Or otherwise, black people in large numbers wouldn't be in fear of darn on punishment for darn on kneeling and doing their First Amendment. You wouldn't have the President of the United States feeling comfortable to call a private group of people kneeling sons of bitches. Like you supposed to be running the country. What the hell, what a group of darn on football players doing on the field have to do with the president having to address them? I don't understand. With all the stuff going on, you addressing the darn gone people kneeling or not kneeling on a football field, and then they don't have control over their advertisement to a full extent, who they can necessarily sign up with. They get paid pennies on the dollars. Like, we need to go a little bit more further and add this to all darn on sports. Basketball, now basketball is a little bit more forgiving now. I hear that the NBA does very well as far as, treating their players right. But as far as tennis, honey, Serena Williams is always being piss test. They always trying to call her a man, and or they saying that she's on steroids and all this, that she's being pissed more than any of her athletes and all of that. So we need to darn gonna do some regulations across the board so everybody's treated fairly. Yeah, now let's not stop at MMA fighters because Serena Williams is going through the shit. The NFL is going through their discriminations, being paid pennies on the dollar, are liable to get traded to any team without any say so. It's making it almost impossible for any of the football players to get to higher positions within the in the league. They can work like Hebrew slaves for pennies on the dollar, and yes, they might be getting paid tens of millions, but when the coaches are getting paid billions, that is pennies in comparison. That's what not makes sense, Andrew Yang, to quote, the darn on pennies don't make no sense. Let's darn on talk about the darn on players making pennies compared to the darn on 32 coaches. And then those same players who are worthy enough to play the game, you make it nearly impossible for them to invest in the game because the coaches have to approve who can join into the darn on league, even if they have the money. Which is why out of 32 coaches, 31 of them are white, and the only non-white coach is a Pakistani. So let's talk about all of that. So once again, let's not just restrict it to MMA. Let's not go make it so we can get these regulations across the board to tennis, to darn on hockey. If they have any issues or not, I haven't heard anything about hockey, but then again, I don't look at hockey. NBA, NFL, like I said, I definitely know more about the NFL, and they definitely need some regulations. We definitely need a union board with the NFL where there's opportunities to create more teams. There's opportunities where you can't be barred out of, or in this case, whiteballed out of owning a team. Because right now, the guidelines are so strenuous, you pretty much got to kiss the ass of the darn on 32 current coaches to even be considered. Now, how is that fair? That you got to answer to a group of 32 people and neither one of them has even ever played the game. The earn that you've never played the game, but you can darn gone control who can get in the game. Like, once again, we need to talk about the NFL on this as well. So Andrew Yang and the Yang gang, y'all need to get this on over to Andrew Yang, because the chance of him seeing this video by himself is slim to none. So Yang gang, tell Andrew Yang that he can definitely include the NFL into this, empowering the MMA fighters. Let's empower Serena Williams with the tennis matches, making sure everybody is being piss test fairly. Let's empower the NFL and make sure all of them have the right of their images, and that there are less strenuous requirements into getting into the process of being a coach. Let's darn go get all of that together and not just, MMA fighting. But anyways, on to the next policy. I'm going to do two more and I'm going to end that there, because I'm quickly approaching the 40-minute mark, and like I said, I got another video to upload tonight. So 18-year term limits for Supreme Court justices. Our country is facing a crisis in the judicial branch. Our founding fathers intended this third branch of government to be free of political pressure, interpreting and applying the Constitution to the laws passed by Congress in order to assure that no violations were found. Today, the Supreme Court is increasingly polarized around political lines, and the selection of a new justice is a bitter fight that divides the country. The process has become increasingly contentious, and very few Americans believe that the Supreme Court is impartial. Honey, you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one, baby. The stats largely back up by that they are correct. The number of 5-4 decisions reflecting the lines between Republican appointed and Democratic appointed has increased in recent years. When a new seat opens up, lifetime appointments incentivize finding the youngest, most partisan jurists who can gain confirmation in order to assure a particular bit on the court for as long as possible. Current justices can expect to serve for 40 or more years. For historical context, the average justice has served for 15 years. Though justices appointed since 1970s have served for an average of 26 years. This isn't the way it was envisioned at the founding of our country, which life expectancy was shorter and justices would often retire or resign well ahead of their deaths. We need to return some level of sanity and balance to the Supreme Court. Amen. The answer to this is to impose term limits on justices and set their terms at regular intervals. Each president should be allowed to appoint 2 justices per term served in their first and third years in office. While a constitutional amendment could codify this, it could also be done by a president agreeing to only appoint justices who were pledged to step down after an 18-year term in Congress. Only confirming a justice making this pledge. Congress would also have to agree to impeach any justice who refuses to step down for no longer demonstrating good behavior. Note that the number of justices is not set by the Constitution and has been greater and lower than 9 at different points in our history. Okay, let me take a sip on this before I respond. My thoughts on this, I am 90% in agreement with this. Now, Andrew Yang, you're finally making some sense. I never understood why that court justices could darn gonna be on the bench as long as 40 plus years if you find one young enough. Like, if I was appointed to the court bench at the age of 26, honey, I can be up on that mug for over 50 some years. And that is too high of a position with low numbers for somebody to be on without no regulation. Now the Senate is different because the Senate is opposed of 100 bodies of members. The House of Representatives is currently at what, 437 members of Congress. So I can understand people being in that for decades because of the fact that you still have a balance with new people coming in and coming out. But when you're talking about as little as 9 to 10 people, and you can be up on there for an indefinite period of time, that's ridiculous. I am definitely in agreement. When that was first constructed, people weren't living as alone. Hell, the average person was fortunate enough to live at 50 years old. 30 was considered middle age back in the day. Now 30 is like your life is just beginning. So much so that you can't even run for president until you're 35 years old. So with that being said, I definitely do believe that a term limit should be set. Um, 18 is a odd about roundabout number. I wonder what made them come up with 18 years. I would round that off to 20 years in my personal opinion, but maybe it's because that they are voted in on. I don't know. What years are there? Matter of fact, I'm going to admit that I don't know when. I thought the court justices were appointed by the president after one steps down. Is no set time when the justices are appointed in. Um, but yeah, 18 years is a very specific date. I would have darn on said 20 years. After 2 decades, you got to step off the bench. So other than the time frame of 18 years, I would be a little bit more lenient and give you 20 years. Go ahead and do a full solid 2 decades, and after that we got to switch out another person. So every 20 years, a new person need to be appointed unless you have shown bad behavior, and then you can be removed. I don't think it should be impossible to remove a court justice. I do believe in a process where you can remove them if they are not displaying, ethical behavior, or if they are abusing their position of power. So, like I said, I am 90% in agreement with this. Revive the Office of Technology Assessment. Quite frankly, the level of technological understanding by some members of our government is embarrassing. Anyone who watched Congress question Mark Zuckerberg is well aware of this, and it makes it unreasonable to expect proper regulation of major tech companies or legislation that addresses the large technological issues that will continue to face in areas such as OWL and cybersecurity. It also impossible to imagine the Congress can provide full oversight over the executive branch, whose Office of Science and Technology Policy (OSTP) is staffed extensively providing guidance and information on important technological developments to the president and other executive branch staff. So the the OTA provided valuable research to our legislative branch until it was phased out in 1995, free of the bias of private industry or think tanks. The OTA provided neutral information on the latest technological developments to legislators. Many of these reports, despite being a quarter of a century old, show an amazing pre-science on topics that are still relevant to this day. This vital institution needs to be revived with a budget large enough and rules flexible enough to draw top talent away from the very lucrative private sector. Hmm. I don't really see no problems with that. Revive the Office of Technological Assessment to educate the legislative branch on technology. Because, hell, some of them been in there since 1960s and 70s and don't really know about social media stuff. Um, I don't see no problem with that. And I still managed to darn on get stuffy nose anyway. But at least I managed to make it to at least the half-hour point before my nose got stuffed up, y'all. Okay, and the last one that we're going to do with this video is lower the voting age to 16. While the 2018 18 midterms elections saw the highest turnout in a non-presidential year since 1914, that turnout was still under 50%. Presidential election turnouts hover between 50 and 65%. This is low, while reforms making it easier to vote should be implemented as well. We can also increase civic engagement and regular voting by lowering the voting age. Studies show that allowing younger people to vote has a positive impact on overall voting habits. Localities that have lowered the voting age have seen an increase in voter turnout across all age groups. Other studies have shown that delaying when a person first votes because of birth dates and electoral cycles decreases the likelihood that they will become a regular voter. At 16, Americans don't have hourly limits imposed on their work and the pay taxes. Actually, that's somewhat of a fallacy. You know, at 16, you do have worker permit laws. Also, at 16, you're thinking about SATs, and at 16, you still got homework. At 16, you're looking into colleges. At 16, you still got extracurricular activities. So once again, there's a lot is going on at the age of 16. But anyways. Uh, their livelihoods are directly impacted by legislation, and they should therefore be allowed to vote for their representatives. Additionally, because of election cycles, there is a level of unfairness that comes with what year a person is born. Senators are on a 6-year cycle, and the president is on a 4-year cycle. Not to mention local offices. Someone born on the wrong time in a cycle would have to wait much longer to cast a ballot for certain offices than someone born at another time. While that's true if the voting age is lowered to 16, it decreases the age at which the person is first allowed to vote for that office, thus allowing them to have a longer period of their life where they feel represented. Uh, I can't relate to that part because y'all know I am a Capricorn, so I am born at the very beginning of the year. I'm January 12th, so I don't know about the people who's born closer to the election date. So if y'all born June through November, y'all sound off through the comment section. June through December, y'all sound off. January through May, we naturally can't relate to that last part, but okay. At the age of 16, what I think about, I can see it being voted. I can see, your rights to vote at 16. I mean, technically at 16, if you're able to legally marry in some states at the age of 16, if you're able to work a job at 16, if you're fully eligible for emancipation at the age of 16, um, I definitely can see you being able to vote at 16, especially since by the age of 16 you should have took enough economics classes. You should have already took civics by then, and you should know enough about the voting process to be able to know about the importance of voting and all of that. Now, sometimes civics is done in 10th grade, so mm, that's going to be interesting. I would recommend if we lower the voting age down to 16, we also have to think about those schools that teach that in the 10th and 11th grade, that we might want to change up the curriculum where they learn that early. They need to learn that as early as ninth grade. That way, if they are able to vote at the age of 16, they will already know the logistics behind that, if that makes sense. And I know some of y'all saying, well, they can learn this from their parents. Well, not everybody's fortunate enough to have parents. When you have, foster children and all of that, if you have parents who, shout out to the DACA crew, your parents, that still don't speak English that well, let alone know full on American history because they dodging ICE or whatever. No judgment over here, baby. But anyways, if you are in that type of situation, or your parents may not have graduated, high school, you might have a teenage parent. That there's a lot of situations that warrant, the parents not being able to educate them. So that's why I would recommend that we will make it where it's learned in the ninth grade or the eighth grade. Definitely, if you can get it in middle school, that's even more of a plus. But definitely, they need to learn it by ninth grade if we're going to lower the voting age to 16 years old. And that is it, y'all. So we done went through how many points today? Oh, shout out to my girl, Cass Life. Y'all go ahead and check her out. I don't know if that's popping up on the screen or not, but if it is, definitely check out the Cass Life. Her video link will be down below. But anyways, we done went through we actually went through quite a bit for 40 some minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We done went through 6 points today, so we did pretty good for 46 minutes. And of course, within a day of this being uploaded, I will have the timestamps located down in the description box. So that is it, y'all. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. We're going to pick up on decreasing pre-trial cash bail, which I am very interested. I'm going to have, I can already tell that I'm going to spend about a good 15 minutes on this topic alone. What else? Relocate federal agencies, democracy dollars, ranked choice voting, decriminalizing. Oh, that's another one I'm going to spend some time on. I'm going to spend some time on that one. Mass incarceration. Okay, so, honey, this might be divided into 5 sections. I don't know, depending on how long these sections are, because I was thinking about 2 videos, but honey, I might have to divide this into 4 videos. So it's going to be like, shoot. We might do 6 videos just for this one section alone. We ain't even gotten over here yet. Honey, somebody might have been right. Somebody commented in my videos that it might take me upwards of 100 videos just to get through all of this. And I don't know about 100, but it looks like it's going to take me at least 20 some videos to get through, because, child, at the minimum, I'm doing 4 videos on this section alone. We ain't even gotten over here. And then we got a whole third section over here. Medicare for all, that's going to be like a 20-minute discussion right there within itself. Infrastructure is like 20 some minutes. Make community college affordable for all, that's another 20-minute discussion. Oh Lord, child, I might have to break this down into like 25, 30 videos. Net neutrality. A matter of fact, net neutrality has been on deaf ears lately. Nobody even talked about how net neutrality done pass. Like, we was trying to forbid it from happening, but now that it's happened, nobody has kept the conversation going out how to reverse it. If reverse it, put it down and reverse it. It's shareable banana. Honey, come on, Andrew Yang. I can't. Oh, Lord, that's towards the end, y'all. Y'all definitely got to subscribe to hear my thoughts on net neutrality. Honey, it might be another 25 videos from now before we get to net neutrality. But trust me, I will get to it eventually. So if you want to hear my thoughts on it, definitely subscribe and look out for the other 16 to 25 videos coming up on Andrew Yang. And I will see y'all soon. Mwah.